What's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. We have some Seattle Seahawks news that, it's not really breaking anymore. It happened several hours ago now, so not exactly on the cutting edge here, but I decided I wanted the videos that I had going live earlier today to go up and be up there for a little bit first before I get into this, because this doesn't necessarily mean anything game-changing is coming. It just indicates that the Seahawks are trying to open up the opportunity for something game-changing to happen in the next several weeks here before the trade deadline. So I and others have spent a lot of time over the last month or so talking about how the Seahawks have very little cap space. They were sitting on a few million, and they probably wanted that few million for potential injuries that could come down the pipe later in this season. So it didn't seem like we had enough money to do anything. So I was kind of dismissive of the idea of going after anybody in free agency or making any kind of a splash trade because there wasn't a lot of money and there weren't a lot of obvious ways left to create money. Well, as of this morning, the Seahawks have decided to go after one of the few ways they had to create money. They have restructured DK Metcalf's contract. So DK Metcalf is obviously on a pretty fat extension. He has 2 years left on his deal, including this year. And what we've decided to do is take some of his cap hit from this year and push it out to next year. So that way we have money to spend now. And Field Yates actually elaborates on exactly what we're looking at here in terms of additional cap space. Seahawks versus wide receiver DK Metcalf, $9.5 million. So that is probably more or less the amount of money the Seahawks have to play with after this transaction. Call it maybe 10 million because they were sitting on a few million before. They could stretch it a little bit. Maybe you could get up to 12 million if you really felt like you wanted to take a risk, but there is definitely a dangerous game you're playing at that point because you're just hoping people don't get hurt because you're not going to be able to replace them effectively or really at all if you don't have any money. But yeah, DK Metcalf, now this cap space restructure frees up a majority of the space that we're currently sitting on. So that's a pretty big deal. That's going to be enough to get something significant done. And I'm going to make videos about this later this week, but I think everybody kind of expects that the offensive line is the area that the team might expend money or resources on to improve. And this is an amount of money where you could legitimately go get somebody who is good. You could go get somebody like a David Bakhtiari. You could go get somebody from another team that is maybe up on the trading block or potentially up on the trading block that is actually like a starting caliber player. If you're looking at that right tackle spot and you're thinking to yourself, Fant is going to be out a while, Lucas is going to be out a while, it's untenable right now because Forsyth is Forsyth and Gerald isn't ready yet, you could go try to find a quality right tackle. Now, I'm going to continue to say what I've said for a while. It is hard to find good tackles that are available because the good tackles are not available, and the tackles that are available are not good because it's a valuable position, and those guys get paid, and those guys get held on to very tightly by their teams. So there would be that, and then there would be the guard position. Certainly, some people would be interested in adding somebody at the guard position right now because we got such bad guard play against the Broncos, particularly Laken Tomlinson. I take a little bit of a different approach at that position personally because I don't think anybody you could get would be much better, if better at all, than what you could get out of Christian Haynes. Christian Haynes was a third-round pick that you just made. A lot of college experience. That guy should be relatively ready to play now. He is an older rookie, and unless you have seen something really, really alarming from him in training camp and preseason, which I didn't get the indication that we saw at all, the odds of you being able to get somebody significantly better than what you could get out of Christian Haynes, even playing a little out of position, is, I think, a little bit unlikely. And even though Bradford played as bad as you can play on Sunday, I'm still a little bit dubious there. So I'm mostly focused in on that right tackle spot where I think things might be untenable than I am the guard spot where I feel like I want to let things play out for a little bit longer with the players that we have. But regardless, this makes it possible. Not easy, not a slam dunk, but with 10 to 12 million dollars of cap space, you could go do something that is significantly better than Stone Forsythe or Mike Jarrell would be right now. Now, back to the DK Metcalf element of this, because obviously this changes his contract. Dugar has his updated contract situation here, and you can see that for 2024, his cap hit is now $15 million. So it has shrunken significantly from where it was. So it's down to $15 million for this year, but it has ballooned up to 32 almost next year, and we now have 3 void years in 26, 27, and 28. So, first of all, teams using void years again. I like it. About $2.4 million signing bonuses in each of those 3 years. The cap hit total is about $7.1 million. So, pretty agreeable. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. Void years in the NFL is like a credit card with a 0% interest rate. So use it because the cap is only going up. So I like the fact that they're willing to use void years to create cap space right now. Also, remember, cap space will roll over from year to year. So if the Seattle Seahawks do not end up using this additional $9.5 million in cap space, it rolls over to next year and they can just use it then in their typical business. So even if they don't do this, it don't do anything with it, it still helps. It just helps later. And it ends up canceling out most of the additional cap hit in 2025 and beyond. So either way, it's pretty much fine. The void years will sting a little bit when we get there, but emphasis on a little bit because the cap keeps going up. Now, the other element at play here would be the incentive to extend DK Metcalf after this season because the cap hit next year is still very big. It's almost $32 million. And the dead money hit to move off of DK Metcalf is now pretty untenable, or at the very least undesirable, right? The dead money hit to cut him next offseason would be $21 million. And it's the exact same for a trade. Obviously, you wouldn't cut DK, you would trade him, but it doesn't matter. You're still looking at $21 million, and you're only saving a little less than $11 million. So, what this probably indicates is the team is very comfortable that they're going to extend him next offseason, which of course I support. I have full support of that, and I agree with it, and I think it's the right thing to do. But this is going to increase their incentive to go ahead and do it because they don't want this $31.9 million cap hit on their books next year when they could extend him. And there will probably be a little bit of bonus money they have to eat in an extension, but it'll be well offset by the fact that his new deal, whatever it is, will probably have an initial year cap hit of like, I don't know, 12 million, 13 million, depends on how they want to structure it. So I think what this means is that the team is well aware of the fact that Metcalf is getting extended next offseason, and it doesn't really matter what the cap number is next year. So it can balloon as much as it wants to. We're not going to actually have to pay it. So we'll see where things go. But I think this is a sign that Metcalf is a long-term Seahawk, which I am totally on board with. All right, so that's really all I can say about this move right now. One other little note. Seahawks signed wide receiver Ty Scott to the practice squad, releasing Michael Barrett. Yeah, don't really know what to make of this whole Michael Barrett thing. We traded for him. We traded a pretty decent player for him in Mike Jackson. And then we just took one look at him for a couple days and we're like, I guess we're not thrilled. I guess we just wanted Mike Jackson out that much, even though he was making very little money. I understand we didn't have room for him, but can you at least get a real asset for him? Because at this point, Michael Barrett has provided no value. Now he's not even on the team. Now, if you bring him back, presumably he'd be on that 1-year minimum deal. You don't even get the 4 years of club control. I don't know. Feels like we mismanaged the Mike Jackson, Mike Barrett situation just a little bit. Not really sure what to make of it, but it is a little disappointing that you couldn't get at least even like a 6th round pick for Mike Jackson. Like, that would have been a real asset. Michael Barrett to this point has been no asset at all. But we're talking about very minor things right now. the DK Metcalf contract restructuring is far more significant. It gives us an opportunity to get better right now that we will probably take, or at least we'll put every effort into taking. And if we don't, it doesn't matter that much because of the cap rollover. All right, I'll see you guys later. Go Hawks. Another video coming later today for sure. Maybe two. We'll see. But either way, go Hawks. See you guys later.